Hello, and welcome back to Stout Hammer Forge. Today we're going to be working on a little project, no actual forging today, but we're going to be building a stand for this little guy right here. About a 4.5-inch jaw post vise. Now, I'm doing this because after I had acquired this, I was looking around for videos on different ways people would mount these, and I had seen them mounted in different videos, but I couldn't find anything kind of saying, this is a good way to mount it. I've seen them mounted to workbenches. I've seen them mounted to steel posts with plates welded to them. I've seen them mounted to wooden stands, multiple pieces of wood that have been bolted together. All sorts of different configurations. So working with, kind of a budget and what I have on hand, I took some measurements, and I'm going to be cutting some steel plates and attaching it to this 4x4. And I'm going to get some, what I had done to do that was I had measured, there's a piece right here, a bracket. I had measured that length and width wise, and it fit actually nicely within a 4-inch cross section. So I figure I'll take my 4x4 post that I've got some steel plate actually right back here. It's about 4 inches wide, so I'm going to measure that out. Cut an 8-inch section, so 4 inches that are going to go right on top of the post, 4 inches overhang that the vise is going to be bolted to, and then I'm going to cut a 12-inch section, so 4 inches on the back, 4 inches in the middle that's going to screw to the bottom of the 4x4 post, and then 4 inches that the actual post of the vise is going to sit on. I'll bring it back up just real quick so you can see. There's that leg down there. That is used to transfer all the energy from, if you're hammering on something in here, it just transfers that energy down into the ground instead of into the jaws of the vise, which helps increase the longevity of it. So we're going to get going here. Let me get stuff set up to start getting measured and cut, and we'll get right to it. All right, so I've got my plate of steel down here, and this bar is about 4 inches wide, and then it's about a 1/4 inch thick. So when I was cutting my posts, which I've got sitting over here, the first thing I did was I measured the height from the bracket of the post vise to the floor. And then because I wanted it to sit flush with the top and the steel plate was going on top, I took that thickness, about that 1/4 inch, cut that extra off the top. It's about 32 inches from floor to the bracket. So I did about 32 1/4. Had a scrap piece of the plate that I could check that with. It worked, it looked like it was sitting about fine. Then taking, whether you could use a ruler, I've got a hook ruler, you could use a tape measure, really what you have available. I'm going to be using some power tools with this. You could do all of this with hand tools. I mean, if you really wanted to, if you didn't have access to a angle grinder or anything like that, you could do this with a hacksaw. Take you a little bit. If you don't have a drill, I know most people are going to have a drill, but on the off chance you don't have a drill, but you do have a forge, you could punch those holes for the screws into the steel plate if you didn't, if you needed to. There's lots of variations on how to do this. There's no one right way, just like with really anything else that you see myself or any other blacksmithing videos that you see people do. So I'm going to measure out my 12 inches down here. And of course, they're saying I can never find my pen, but this time I was lucky. Mark 12 inches there. Got 12 inches on the other side. Of course, I can't seem to draw a straight line between 2 points right now. There we go. So I got that. This one I can just measure with this. Get 8 inches. for that top plate. All right. Now that we've got that marked off, time to get out the angle grinder, make sure it's got a nice fresh cutting disc on it. We're going to get to work. So I've got my bars clamped down here. And as always, safety is very important. Got my eye protection on. And some of this comes down to a level of comfort, what you're okay with. I know for me, I don't like breathing in all that metal dust. So actually, I found this because I don't want to have to shave my beard, and respirators work best, when you can make that seal. This actually goes around your head and has the filters in the back of it. So I've got this for my breathing protection, and these for my ear protection as normal. Let's get to cutting. So now those pieces are cut. I did a test fit. The 12-inch piece I cut for the bottom, having the post be in the middle with 4 inches on each side, didn't leave enough room, just barely, for the leg of the vise to sit on the metal. So what I ended up doing, I'm just taking that longer cutoff piece. I'm using that. It's got plenty of room. And it's going to add some extra weight at the bottom and just some weight overall, because I do want it to be, I do need it to be heavy enough so when I'm twisting and working with it, it doesn't move too much. So we're going to get this and the other piece over to the drill press. We're going to get 4 holes drilled in each of them, 4 in here to screw into the bottom, 4 in the other to screw in the top. And then I'm going to be drilling 3 holes in the top plate that the bolts are going to go through for securing the vise to the top plate. Now, one thing you want to remember when you're running your drill press, I'm sure a lot of y'all know this, but I want to be informative when I can. Assuming it can, like this one, see if you can adjust your RPMs on there, because different materials with your bits are going to work better with different RPMs. So steel, you want to go slower than you do for wood and different kinds of steel, but just helps you be a little safer and helps your stuff last longer. I'm not going to bore you with all the drilling for the other piece, so I'll see you in a second. Alright, so I've got it mostly assembled. I use a slightly larger drill bit as I don't have a countersink to be able to countersink the screws on the bottom. Worked alright. Countersink's better, right tool for the right job. Bolts got lined up nice. I'm going to replace the screws up top. I ended up using some longer screws on the bottom. I think I'm going to use those same longer screws on top. Because these are 1 5/8 deck screws. And they're just not cutting it. I was hoping they would really just kind of hold the plate in place. Again, since it's not going to be taking too much hammering, but just fidgeting everything around. It ended up causing it to get loose, so we'll see how this one goes. Alright, that feels a lot tighter, a lot nicer. We'll get these all replaced one by one. Was just spinning. All right, just in time because the battery was dying. So right now the only problem I have with this setup is it wants to wobble side to side a little bit, well, more than a little bit. So what I'm going to end up doing with that, and I was kind of thinking this was going to happen, cut some wood to be some angle braces, but other than that, like, feels pretty sturdy, not going anywhere. I'm happy with it. One thing I was thinking too, if I do the angle braces, I'm probably not going to do this, but if I ever change around the post that it's on, if I get a bigger post or if I build one out of scrap wood to something that's maybe like 8x8 size, something like that, putting some wheels on it would be nice. And what I mean is put all those on the side so I could just like tilt it over on some wheels, roll it around if I'm transporting, like if I'm going and doing a demonstration somewhere. But overall, yeah, I think this would be, a perfectly workable setup for this. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, I made this video mostly because I had seen these vices mounted in other videos, but I hadn't found a video kind of explaining how to mount them. Before I forget, some things I want to go over. Just a couple issues that I had. Just making sure that you remember to measure every part of this. This is, a tool that's relatively new to me. So remembering, figuring out everywhere I needed to measure. So I had measured, the 4 inches for the post and the size for the bolts. But then forgetting to measure the extra length for the actual leg of the leg vise. It worked out, but that's just because I happened to have the extra metal. And then making sure you have the right drill bits for drilling through everything. I was very lucky, so I forgot to measure how big the bolts are that are attaching it to the steel plate. They're 1/2-inch bolts. Up until relatively recently, I didn't have a 1/2-inch drill bit, so if I hadn't thought of that, I would have been just SOL. So yeah, I think, let's see I wonder how heavy this is to actually lift up. Let's see. Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, like if I needed to haul that somewhere for a demonstration, I could do that. Yeah. There's a little sharp piece under there. Have to figure that out. But yep, and it'll sit. Like I said, I get something to stabilize it, but make sure you got the right drill bits. Drilling through that 1/4-inch steel ain't no joke. And yeah, just take your time, be safe, and I hope you found this video at the very least informative, if not maybe a little bit enjoyable.